I encourage all of you to come on in and have a seat. We have a wonderful forum planned for you, and we want you to be able to hear all of it. My name is Rainey Dangle. I'm one of the associate rectors here at Trinity Church with a focus on social justice. And I'm just so pleased that you are here as part of the Bonneman Symposium. We had a great day yesterday. Our speaker, Ali Nourani, helped us think about building bridges with those with whom we may disagree on some points as we try to find solutions to the vexing issues of immigration in our country. We had breakout sessions where people were able to share their thoughts with each other, and we had a number of organizations present who are doing work in various parts of the immigration issue, and people could learn more about those organizations, sign up, or otherwise find out what's going on in the Boston area as we all think about what are the steps that we can take, particularly as people of faith in these difficult times. I want to thank the Bonneman Symposium team for this great work. Akindele Majakodumi, our fearless leader, is around. And all the others, thank you so much for what you've done. And one of the hardworking members of the team is Tim Lay, who is now going to introduce our speaker. Tim.
Good morning again, everybody.
Good morning.
We have a real treat with us today, and I think you will find it really great. I want to just pick up from yesterday's event, because this is the second day of the two-day symposium. Our symposium keynote speaker from yesterday, Ali Nourani, the executive director of the National Immigration Forum, he has a great podcast called Only in America, and he had one discussion about the fine art of listening, and I found it really helpful. I thought I would quickly tell it to you. In my opinion, it has great bearing on what we're about collectively, all about to do just now. Here's what I personally learned from Ali Nourani about listening. One, bring a spirit of hospitality. Be patient. Bring curiosity. Ask yourself, what can I learn? What don't I know? Bring a stillness, a quiet into your heart. Make sure you're listening not just to respond, but to understand. And lastly, resist the drive for simplicity. Have a faith to live with uncertainty and complexity. So let's try this fine art of listening and what we're about to do now. So first, we're going to hear from our three honored guests. We're going to begin with Jeffrey Thielman, who is the president and CEO of the International Institute of New England, which works to create opportunities for refugees and immigrants to succeed through resettlement, education, career advancement, and pathways to citizenship. And then we're going to hear from two clients of the International Institute of New England. We'll first hear from Surah Al-Azawi. Surah was born and raised in Iraq and has been living in the Boston area for just over a year and a half. She is currently studying to practice dentistry here. And second, we will hear from Fabiano Latham, who was born and raised in Brazil, where he was a journalist and published author. Fabiano has been in the United States for just over 3 years, and is a writer, a photographer, as well as doing many other things. So let us begin. Please give a hearty welcome to our first guest, Jeffrey Thielman.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you to Akindele for organizing this morning's symposium. I also want to thank Dr. Carolyn Sharp for her words today. She was an intern or a volunteer at the International Institute when we were on Commonwealth Avenue, and it was nice of her to tell the story of the immigrants and refugees she worked with years ago. I'm a Catholic, and so I went to this morning's service, and I made a contribution. The plate came, and I did what I always do. But I noticed that today's gospel was about the Gospel of Mark. And I used to run a Catholic school in Dorchester called Cristo Rey Boston High School. And I had to go into the classroom and teach theology to ninth graders. And so that's the year you go through the gospel. And the shortest gospel is the Gospel of Mark. So that's the one I chose to go through with the kids. And lo and behold, today's gospel is the Gospel of Mark. So, and it's a really beautiful gospel, I think. And today's speaker, Dr. Carolyn Sharp, did a lot of justice to that. I don't want to ruin what she talked about. But, you know, in that gospel, there's all these privileged people who like to walk in robes and have a seat at the banquet table and be prestigious and be recognized. And Jesus criticizes those folks. And I think all of us, if we're honest with ourselves, at one point or another, have wanted to be or have been those kind of folks who want to be praised and want to wear robes and want a special seat at the banquet table. But then Jesus notices a widow. And the widow puts two coins in the treasury. And that's all she had. That's all she had. And Jesus said, that's the one who's going to make it to heaven. That's the one we want to be like, that widow. And the immigrants and refugees that we work with are people who put everything they've got into the till. They put everything they've got into the United States of America. They want to be here. They want to contribute. They want to be leaders in this community. They want to be part of us. And they want to give back to the country that is giving a lot to them. And today, you're going to get a chance to hear from two people who have come to us from other parts of the world. And you're going to get a chance to ask them questions and learn about their histories. And I hope you ask them questions and take away their stories as you go about your week. The International Institute of New England was founded 100 years ago in 1918. Today is the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And 100 years ago, in Lowell, Massachusetts, a group of women at the YWCA got together and said, we need to do something to welcome newcomers to the United States. Between 1880 and 1920, about 20 million people, primarily from Europe, came to the United States. If all of us think back to our histories, many of our great-grandparents, grandparents came during that era, 1880 to 1920. And in 1918, as this war, the Great War, was ending, there were people across the United States who were more nationalistic, wanted to close our borders, not unlike today. And a group of women at the YWCA in Lowell, Massachusetts said, you know, that's crazy. We should welcome newcomers. We don't agree with this nationalistic rhetoric that's taking place in the country right now. We don't agree with people who don't want to welcome newcomers. We want to bring newcomers into our communities. We want to help them out. We want to teach them English. We want to help them to find jobs. And so the International Institute of New England was born at a YWCA in Lowell, Massachusetts. And then in 1924, the YWCA in Boston opened up an International Institute. And that is an historically significant year because in that year, 1924, the United States government passed the Nationalities Act, the most restrictive, racist immigration law in the history of the country. It restricted immigration to 2% of all nationalities in the country per the 1890 census, which meant that people of color and others couldn't come into the United States. And that same year, the women at the YWCA said, that's absurd, that's ridiculous, let's welcome people to the United States. And so our organization is a $6.6 million operation that operates in Boston, Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts, and Manchester, New Hampshire. We serve about 2,000 immigrants and refugees each year. And we do the same thing that the women did at the International Institute of Lowell 100 years ago. And that is, we teach English. We have about 600 or 700 people in classes each year learning English. We have a legal services program, so we're helping people to navigate an increasingly complicated legal system here in this country. We have career services. The two fastest growing industries, there are three fast growing industries, technology, healthcare, and hospitality in this region. And we have programs in healthcare and hospitality. We train people for entry-level jobs in those careers. About 60%, almost 60% of the hospitality workers in Greater Boston are foreign-born. Think about that, 60%. And a high percentage of people in healthcare, something like 35, 40%, are foreign-born. We also have a program that reunifies unaccompanied minor children with their families and sponsors here in Greater Boston. So if you're listening to NPR this morning, there was a great story on WBUR about a dad whose son is now in the caravan, the quote-unquote caravan, what Trump is calling a caravan. And our organization has a program to reunify unaccompanied Central American children with their families in Greater Boston. So beginning in 2014, there were lots of children leaving the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras, and they were coming to the United States, and they were coming without their families, and the president tried to figure out what to do, and he set up this unaccompanied minor program, and we have a contract to help unaccompanied minor children get reunified with their family members. And what we're most known for, in what the minister spoke about this morning, is we resettle refugees who come to the United States from all around the world. There are there are 25.8 million refugees in the world, and there's about 66 million people who are displaced from their homelands because of war and violence. 25.8 million people are refugees, and a refugee is someone who has a well-founded fear of persecution. So think of people from Syria, think of people from Iraq, think of people from Afghanistan, think of people from Somalia, Sudan, other countries. They can't go home again because of war or violence. I'm going to tell you a brief story about one of those families. In January of 2017, we had secured an apartment in Lowell for a family that was going to come from Syria. And it was a mother, a father, and two sons. I think they were maybe 20 and 22 years old, two boys. And we learned that they lived just north of Aleppo, Syria, and they had to leave Aleppo, the northern part of Syria, that part of Syria, in 2012 because of all the violence, and they went to Turkey. And they applied to become refugees. They went to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and they said, we can't go home to Syria. We can't go back to Syria. And there's a process you go through, multi-year process that you go through, in which you document your status as a refugee, in which you explain to people why you're a refugee, you explain that you can't go home again. And so the family documented the bombs that dropped near their home. They documented the fact that their sons couldn't go to school. Their oldest son was a senior in high school. He couldn't complete high school because of the violence in Aleppo. And the other boy was in college, and he couldn't go to college. So they moved to Turkey, and they started their life in Turkey as best they could. The father was a third-grade teacher who had become a principal of an elementary school in his village. He got a job in a factory. The two boys got jobs, one in a market, one delivering rugs. And they were trying to make it in Turkey. Well, they were scheduled to come to the United States. They finally went through all the processes, about a 2-year process, multiple security checks. They're about to come to the United States. And then the president signed an executive order on January 27th, 2017, making it impossible for them to come to the country. And so they were actually on the way to the airport to come to this country. And then they had to go back home to their friend's house in this apartment where they were staying. Then the executive order was reversed because of legal action by people here. A lot of people here in Boston, in fact, were involved in that case. And the family then got the notice that they could come to the United States. And I decided to go to the airport to greet them in Manchester, and we brought them to their apartment in Lowell. And the first thing the father said to me, he said, well, do I have to go back? And I said, you're going back, we're all going back with you. So that is what the International Institute of New England is about. We're about caseworkers and teachers and interns and volunteers who welcome people, who help people who have suffered a great deal, and help them to navigate a very difficult time in their lives. There are many policies right now that are making it difficult for the International Institute of New England to serve immigrants and refugees. But the important thing you should know is that here in Boston and in Lowell and in Manchester, we keep going. We keep serving people. We keep doing our job. Just like the women and men, I guess, that got involved at the International Institute of Lowell and in Boston 100 years ago. We keep serving people. We keep helping people. And we think that's the best way to combat some of the policies that have been put in place that make it more difficult for people to come here and make it more difficult for people to remain here. And so I'm going to stop and I'm going to introduce our two speakers who are going to tell their stories. We've learned that in this era, we can respond with as many facts as we possibly can. But stories of people actually sell more. I mean, here's one little fact for you. Of 91 companies that have reached I may have the facts wrong, but that are IPOs of $1 billion or more, 50 of them were started by immigrants in the past several years. 25 of those were started by people who came here on a student visa. So if we were to shut down immigration, if we were to do what some people want to do, it would harm us economically. 28% of the city of Boston is foreign-born. 23% of the city of Lowell, foreign-born. 15% of the city of Manchester, foreign-born. 20% of all workers in businesses in Greater Boston, foreign-born. We can't make it without people coming to this area. We can't survive economically. We can't succeed. We wouldn't be where we are today without people who were born outside the United States. But that argument doesn't always work. And so what does work, I think, is telling stories. And so what I want to do now is stop and introduce two of our clients, two people that have worked with us we've worked with over the past couple of years, people who have touched our lives and people we hope touch your lives as well. So I'm going to start with Sarah. Okay. And Sarah, as I said earlier, has a background in dentistry and is from Iraq.
Yeah, it's working right now, right? So I might be nervous a little bit, and I'll try just to choose short parts of my story, the exciting parts. So my name is Surah, and I'm from Iraq. I was born in Baghdad in a middle-class family of 6 members, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Just like any other family, a normal family, we used to spend much of our time together. We took care of each other. In weekends, mom or dad would plan for a short trip to one of the lakes around Baghdad. Or we might just gather around the table with other family members in my grandparents' home. And this is the time that you know you're going to have your best food, dolma. This is another story. Just a normal life, and one night, everything has changed. I remember waking up at 6 or 5 a.m. I was just 13 years old to the warning siren when the war started. I was so young that I didn't know what was going around. All I knew that everything has changed. You cannot play out anymore. There's no more hanging out with your friends. I can see how in my parents' eyes how much they were scared, how much they were lost, not knowing what's going to happen next. So many stories. I've seen a lot. All of us, we've seen a lot. I remember being in school, in the middle school, when I was, I believe, 15 years old, when our school was attacked by people from Al-Qaeda organization, and they were attacking the police office close to our school. But all I remember now is crying, running, so terrified with the sounds of the broken windows. One of my friends is here, I think she remembered that. All we wanted is just to find a safe place. It's a feeling that you cannot imagine, you cannot describe even. Like now when I'm remembering, I feel a little bit nervous. But we just made it, stayed alive. So many other stories similar to this, with my parents, with my brothers and sister. We just decided that it's time to leave. My parents decided, of course. Though it was hard staying there, like, sure, you need to move, you need to go to a safe place, but it was a hard move, because tough times bring people around, bring people closer. So we used to be attached more to our friends, our neighbors, with who we spend the nights of the war, your family members. It's never easy, but my parents took the decision and they decided to move to Syria, where we stayed 6 or 7 years. I finished my bachelor degree in dentistry, and then the situation started to get bad there. In 2013, it was so bad there we couldn't make it anymore, and we decided to move to another country. So we moved to Turkey. Then you know, it's the same process starting every time. You have to move, you have to try to know more people, you're leaving your friends. There's a lot of things, you know, that as much as you move, it will be hard at the same time. Every time will be the same, like the first time. But staying in Turkey, so in Turkey we had the opportunity to apply for United Nations Migration Program, me and my younger brother. It was like a new step. Okay, you're gonna do something. We have to go away from the whole Middle East area since it's all war and problems. Staying in Turkey was an important step in my life. It gave me time to grow up, be wiser, understand what I'm doing in my life. So at that time I felt like I want to give back. I want to do something in my life. I started looking at Facebook, any places to volunteer, to do something, and I found one of the Red Crescent offices close to my home, the city I was living in. So I did some volunteering job there. I was introduced to Turkish people. I had a problem in communication first because not everyone can speak English. I had to learn Turkish. Then I was introduced to one of the non-profit organizations. They used to take care of poor families, refugees families from Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and all other countries. So at the end I got many friends that I'm still in touch with. I got the opportunity to learn Turkish, to feel the love of people there. And at the end of this 2 years and 6 months in Turkey, after we've gone through many background checks, interviews, I and my brother were able to get the resettlement visa, thank God. So it was like a dream come true. We were so happy that finally we were moving. But at the same time, we were so scared. Like, the same thing again, come on. A new country, though we knew English. Like, imagine the immigrants and the refugees who doesn't know any English. New people, you have to start from zero every time. And this time without my parents. It's just me and my younger brother. So it wasn't easy. But we were like, okay, let's just move on. We have to do something. Because staying in Turkey and Syria, though people were nice, but there you don't have the opportunity to work, to study. Though I was able to study, but it's different between refugees and people, depend on the families or the cities they are staying in. So moving to the United States was like a dream come true. I remember when we landed in Boston, from New York to Boston, then in Boston, the International Institute of New England, they welcomed us. They took care of us, starting from applying for ID, the work permit that you need to work. I don't know why I'm making that clear. What else? Many other stuff. The cultural orientation class, which was so fun. We had a lot of fun, though it looks so simple, but at the beginning I didn't know what's the difference between the credit and debit card. The coins, like cards or the dime, I used to think that pennies and cents are something different. Like, there's difference between them. How to pay your bills, online billing system, online paying system, and many other stuff. Till this day, they are helping me with everything. Whenever I have problems, I'll just go and call my case manager, Rahmatullah, he's not here today. So they helped us a lot with job interviews, applying for jobs, now with our green card process, and I don't know what else, but we will be calling you all the time, guys. I'm here today, but there's just a short story that I want to add. The last few days, I was studying in one of Starbucks locations, and I was studying and focusing on my study, and there was a table beside me where 3 or 4 old men were sitting, and they were discussing the immigration crisis and things about that. Came to my hearing when one of the old men said, why these refugees and immigrants are here? What they are trying to do? Do they expect to stay here 5, 10 years, and then what do they want? I felt like I want to say something, but then I was like, okay, every person has his own point of view. In a group of 10 people, you can see 10 different views, point of views. So why I'm telling this now? Because this just made me think more, like, why I'm here. if people, they don't know why we're here, and I'm sure that all of you here, nice people, you all know what's going on around. But as a refugee or an immigrant moving from other countries, I don't think anybody of us chose to move, chose to leave their families, their friends, chose to start from zero again. Like now I have to go through my evaluating diploma all over again, like studying as I studied 5 years. It's not easy. But why we're here? Before leaving Turkey, my mom was against this decision. She was crying, like, guys, you're going there, but it's not easy. Like, okay, we can talk, we can do, but you know, it's not easy. All I remember telling mom is this, that I know I'm young. I know I'm young for saying this, but one day I want to fall in love, to get married, to get children, and I don't want for my children to go through what I've been through, or all other children in the world. I want people, children, and even me right now, I want us all to live in one place, safe place, to have the right to dream. So why we're here? I guess I'm here to be part of all of you, part of this big family, part of this country, just to feel that we have somewhere that we belong to. We're here to live with all of you in love and peace, to have our simple right, which is to dream. Thank you so much.
Now, Fabiano, you got to try to top that.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for this great opportunity to talk about my experience in this country. My name is Fabiano Leithan. I'm 41. I'm Brazilian, journalist and a writer. And I've been living in Boston for 20 and a half years. When I arrived here, I spoke a little English, even though I had already taken courses in Brazil. We immigrants have many challenges, longing for family and friends, learning new culture, and for me, the biggest challenge is learning the language. Since I got here, I started to learn every day. I took some courses, but recently I had a pleasant surprise to find IINE and started a new stage. But I lived a long story before I got here. I was born in a very poor family, small town. My father died when I was only 3 years old, and it was very difficult for me and my mother. A few years later, she married again, but my stepfather rejected me and was violent too. But always I believed that I could change my destiny. I started working when I had 7 years old, selling snacks on the street. But I had a dream, to be a journalist and to be a writer. After many years and challenges, I could to achieve some goals. I have a degree and postgraduate degree in journalism, and for 20 years I worked in newspapers, magazines, and local TV channels in the state of São Paulo, Brazil. I also taught journalism in colleges for almost 10 years. And I'm a writer too. I've been published 3 books. So for me, the communication and language are fundamental. They are my life. They are my passion. At IINE, I found a warm and really motivated environment. Which most draw my attention to IINE is this inclusion of everyone regardless of the nationality or immigration status. Such a welcome is essential for students to feel comfortable and open to learning. And now, I'm so happy because my next goal is almost done. I'm finishing the layout of the English version of my new book called Act Now. It's a book about life coaching strategies with tips for changing habits, setting goals, and learning to focus. I'm really excited to the release. I'd like invited everybody. I hope make new connections, meet new people, and contribute with everyone sharing my knowledge and my experiences. This has been possible because I had a great support from IINE. I would like to thank the teacher Lauren Bald, who helped me a lot with a review about the grammar and sense of tests. To conclude, I would like to tell how happy I'm for being here today. As an immigrant, I believe I can grow and help another people grow too. Thank you all staff from INE, especially Steve Levin, Kate Nail, Andrea Spark, my teachers Shiri Patel, Dan Stone, and Natalie Patalano. I wish success to all in this important mission. Thank you very much, everyone.
I guess what we'll do now is we'll take questions. Also, Steve Levin, who runs our ESOL program, is back there, and that's what was referenced. Steve is
Great, so we're going to have a question and answer period, and for folks that are going to the 11:15 service, we'll take a short break at 11:05, and we'll continue probably right up to around 11:30. So this is and we've got a microphone here for any questions. I must say that on a personal level, I found those stories absolutely wonderful. The combination of information as well as a sense of heart and soul to all of it. Everyone, I just really incredibly honored to have you all tell your stories. Thank you so much.
My name is Warren Rick, and I have a question for Fabiano. Why did you leave Brazil?
Excuse me, could you repeat, please?
Yes, I want to know why you decided to leave Brazil.
Oh, since I was a child, because in Brazil, we have a lot of things about the United States, like movies, music, the country, and always I thought, wow, I think there is possible I have more opportunities. I meet new people, no judgment about everything. Like, I don't know, but I thought there I can feel more freedom than here. Brazil is a great country, is amazing, the people there is very friendly, but we have a lot of corruption. And everything is bad about be safe, about health, about everything. And when I was 30 years old, I thought I need to do something different in my life. I need to break everything and go and move. And I thought, oh, okay, I can go to São Paulo because I lived in a small town, or Rio de Janeiro is the two important cities in Brazil. Okay, I can get some job there, but I need something hard. I want to learn English because so far I speak good Portuguese, but I never needed English. And I said, okay, and I had a couple friends here, and then I decided come to stay 6 months, and now it's past 3 years and a half. But basically, it's about open my mind and feed my dreams. This is the reason. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much for both telling us your story. I'm going to ask two very simple questions. Have you started to feel American yet? And are you finding your transition to be difficult, or are you finding everybody to be welcoming?
Question. Both of us. Okay. So the first question is, do you feel that you're American yet? It's a nice question.
Are you starting to feel American yet? Are you starting to feel American yet?
Well, I started feeling I'm part of this country. Of course, this is something that you cannot talk about. We cannot talk about. But yeah, since I moved here, like, you know, the sense of freedom, you can do whatever you want. You can walk in the street, nobody's telling you, oh, you're Muslim, oh, you're Arabic, oh, you're from that party or whatever. This is a nice thing of America. Like, you're walking around and it looks like all of people are living here together. Nobody's judging everybody. So I guess, yes, I can say it's right. The second question was, do you see it, are you welcomed here or not?
Yeah, are you finding social tension, or you think the process is easy for you to get into the American culture here?
It's not hard, actually. People are really welcoming. You know, as I said, in each group you can find people who are with and who are against. So I just had some situations where some of people were like so happy to talk to me, and when they would be asking like, where are you from? I'm from Iraq. They would go, oh, and you know, they just step back. It happened with a few people. It's fine. You know, it can happen everywhere. But as in a general, I think everybody's welcoming. Look at you guys. Thank you.
So about the first question, now I feel more comfortable because every day I learn something about everything, but was very difficult like 3 years ago because I felt like a child, like, oh my God, I need to learn everything again, you know? And especially for me, I love talk, I love people. And sometimes I feel silly because I want to express myself like 100%. In some situations I can't. But now I feel more confident. I know I speak wrong, I know I have many mistakes, but I don't care. It's important. Yeah, I think this important is like face people, look eye to eye, and go ahead. And yeah, I feel more comfortable. But always, I think we feel like, okay, I'm here, but I miss some things about, especially friends, especially connections. And you asked about connections. Now I started new connections. For me, is difficult because I'm excited about my book because I think is a good way to show more about me. You know, my book can talk about me. But now, like for example, today, you don't have idea so much happy I am for being here. Like, this is a great opportunity. And I thought, oh my God, maybe I'm gonna meet new people, we can do a new contact. This is important for me because so far we have a real huge Brazilian community, especially in Framingham, Everett. Actually, in New England, we have 400,000 Brazilians, a lot of people. But I said, I think sometimes, okay, but I want more than Brazilian community. I want to know their, you know, and this is very important for me. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm just going to ask a question, if I could, to Jeff, if that's all right. We speak a lot here at Trinity how life is short and we have to make choices. And I'm just curious, on a personal level, what drew you to this work? Why? You could do any, you know, there's many things in life. You made a choice to do this. Talk a little bit about that from your sense of it.
Sure. So, I think this has sort of been I've been doing work like this most of my life. when I got out of college, I went to Peru as a Jesuit international volunteer. In the 1980s, I was there for 3.5 years. Then I came back from Peru and I went to law school at Boston College Law School, and then practiced law for a short time and was in the insurance industry with some friends who are here. And then I went back and I worked for the Jesuits to help start a network of schools called the Cristo Rey Schools. And then I took this job 4 years ago. So I would say, for me, it's just a sort of a personal thing that I get fulfillment out of this kind of work. And I have taught in my life, but where I can give the most to an organization probably isn't, I realize, is in leadership, and as being in administration, being at the CEO level. So that's where I can contribute to an organization like this that does good work. So I think it's more, it's a calling, it's a vocation. I do remember when I was at Boston College in the 80s, and all my friends were going off to work at EMC and Fidelity and other companies, were great companies, do great work. I just said, this is just not me. I just can't compete with this. It's not who I am. So I think it's more of a personal, over the course of your life, you realize what you're meant to do, and you do it.
Thank you. Next question over here, please.
Yes, this question is for both of you. Welcome. And can you tell us the process that you got here, and what is your status now in this country? Fabio mentioned, I think you're here 3 years. You have a green card. Can you tell us the process and your status, please?
Thank you for your question. So when I moved here, I had the I-94 visa, I believe, and right now I'm just with the work permit. I applied for the green card, but it's just taking more time. We applied on May, I believe, and I didn't get it yet. Neither me, neither my brother. What was the other question? Sorry.
No, that was
That's it. Yeah. So I think we're staying like here. What do they call it? Like legal.
So when a refugee comes to the United States, they come on a refugee visa, and then they're eligible after 1 year for a green card. The green card process has become lengthier under the new administration, and so we have a service that helps people like Sarai get their green card, but it takes longer than it used to take.
But the INV that she mentioned, is INV, is that a refugee?
I-94, right? The visa that we get when we move here.
Yeah.
It's a refugee.
Right. Yes. And then, what's your legal status? They want to know your legal status.
Like I said, I came to stay like 6 months, and then I applied to extension, my visa extension, and I was trying, after this I was trying work permit like journalist, but I got married, and I got married like 11 months after coming here, and then I got my documents, my green card, and my work permit. My status is like okay for now.
So you got married an American citizen?
Yeah, I got married with American citizen. Yeah, okay.
Great. It's reminder, it's 11:05, and if anyone wants to leave for the next service, please do so. We're going to continue for another 25 minutes. Pat, I guess we have a question right behind you.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and answer the question.
Hi. Yesterday, we heard in the symposium from an immigrant who'd been here many years and had never been invited into the homes of Americans, and it was disturbing. And I wanted to know if if Americans have invited you into their homes.
Well, actually, no, nobody invited me yet. But my friends, yeah, they're American right now, but nobody invited us. I think because, life here is busy, the lifestyle, so you just go work, you come back home, and people, they don't have time to talk to each other, so.
Have you been invited to American home?
Oh, no, actually. Sometimes, yeah. For me, this is very different because in Brazil we are too friendly. We met, like, if I meet you now, I say, oh, come home, have a lunch with me. We are friends, so, you know? But I'm very open for this. Sometimes I think, wow, why they don't share more about? But I think it's a process, you know, how much I meet people, I think this will be possible.
If I hadn't moved to North Carolina, I'd invite you home for lunch.
Wow.
But it's just a little too far.
I can cook too, I love cooking. Thank you.
I'm Sharon Marshall. Thank you for your remarks. Sir, I was particularly struck by your comment that you wanted to come here so that the children you hope to have would be safe and would be having opportunity. And I think that drives home the message that so many immigrants of all statuses pay an enormous price for the next generation to live differently. What would you advise us along those lines? What is the biggest challenge you see going forward, if you will?
You mean the challenge in the United States, or?
Yes.
Well, I guess it's the feeling of being accepted. Like, you know, as I mentioned, like some people would be with, some people would be against that. But yeah, like refugees and immigrants, they need to be that they're accepted here. I understand that it might be hard, like, you know, as an American citizen, when you see something bad going somewhere, you would be like, oh, it's because of these immigrants and refugees. But as we know that if there is a big group of good people with one bad person, this bad person would be just generalizing this bad, you know, whatever is over this group. So being accepted, I believe, is the thing that we're having challenge with. Like to walk around and saying, oh, I came from Iraq, but I'm a refugee and I won't be part of this country. It's not something that everybody can accept. I believe that. Thank you.
Great. Another question right over here.
Hi, I have two questions, if that's okay. First question is for Fabiano. I wanted to ask you, during your time as a reporter in Sao Paulo, did you ever fear for your life in terms of where you were reporting or in terms of the government there, or if there's ever been an occasion like that?
No, not exactly, because my experience like journalist is more about, I wrote about education, about things like subjects like my book, like about behavior. I wrote a lot about behavior, and like mini biographies is another kind journalist, and then was easy. But I had experience in different subjects in journalism, but the mostly is more about cultures, about, you know, learning another kind of subjects, and then what's okay.
Okay, so no political journalism whatsoever?
No, exactly, yeah.
Okay. Second question that is for both. What has been the strangest or most odd thing about living in America? Because I've been in the United States for about 2 years now, and there are things that I find really odd. So I was just curious.
I have to think about that. It has been, you know, 1 year and 6 months. I feel like I'm fine with everything right now. But if you ask me that, the time I got to the United States, I might have some answer. Something strange. Nothing in my mind. Because, you know, I guess moving a lot, you see a lot of things in Syria and Turkey. So I was like, fine, I have this defense mechanism. But nothing really strange or odd, you know.
I think if you did this question like 3 years ago, was different, because now I see like the things like more, but I don't know, strange. I don't. For me, it's different. For example, in Brazil, when we have a party, for example, we go. Everybody can get anytime, whatever, and we stay long. You stay like, you know. And here is more like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. Start 6 o'clock, and finish 9. Finish 9. And I think that is so nice. Why I can't, you know? And for us, because in Brazil we have a hot weather, and then we enjoy it different, you know. We are busy too, of course. I work it a lot, but this is a strength for me so far. I want to be more like informal sometimes, but in some points it's good. I could learn about that.
Great, we're going to do some questions on the left side of the room if I could, and then right after that one. We'll come right over here.
Are either of you concerned about your status, given what's been going on with our government? Are you concerned that you may not be able to stay?
Well, it's for me, I believe, since he's fine. Well, yeah, of course. Like, you know, before I got to the United States, my flight was supposed to be in January 2017, and because of the executive orders, it was delayed till April. So at that time I was like, am I gonna be able to move? But right now, without the green card, yeah, because many things are changing, and I'm following the news. I want to visit my family, and I cannot get out of the United States without the green card. And even with the green card, I believe it's, you know, not something 100% that you can get into the States again. But yes, we think a lot about that, me and my brother, every day. So it's, yeah. Thank you.
Great, right over here, you had a question? You've been asking it, so sorry.
I'd like to pick up on what Sharon said and the huge price that you both have paid to leave what was familiar, you know, friends and family. And is that the hardest part being here, is not having that familiarity and contacts and the family to support you? Because you started out describing this wonderful family of grandparents and parents and brothers and what you did on like an afternoon, Saturday or Sunday afternoon. How do you fill that void?
Thank you for a question. So, of course it's really hard because, you know, when we moved to Turkey, at least we were more, like now it's just me and my brother. And my older brother is in Turkey, my older sister, she's somewhere here in the United States, so we're scattered everywhere. It's not easy at all. Besides like the challenges that we're facing, because when you move, you know that, we're gonna be happy, everything is easy, but we know that it's not like this. You have to work, you have to balance between work and study. Every day I'll be like, did I do the right thing by moving here? And I'll be like, no, but there's no other choice. No, I cannot go back to Iraq, neither Syria or Turkey, they're my country. So it's hard trying to move, you know, like now after 1 year and 6 months, every day I'm like, I'm studying for this exam for a long time because I was working, so it's taken a long time. And when I see other people who are already on the process of evaluating their diploma, I'm like, what's going on? Like, you know, you feel these difficulties every day without the support of your family. Like, I used to call my mom crying sometimes, which is normal for everyone. It's not easy, never easy. Like, you can smile, you can give positive energy, but you will have your hard time, which is normal for every person. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a question? I'm sorry, right here.
Thank you for being here. It's been a great privilege to listen to you. I'm a high school teacher at Christo Rey Boston, so thank you, Jeff. And our school serves a significant number of students who are from immigrant families who have come here as children, usually from the Caribbean, but sometimes from West Africa too. And I realized that when you both came here, you were both already adults. But if you could imagine having come here as a teenager, what would you have wanted an American school teacher to know about your life? And maybe what questions would you have wanted that teacher to ask of you?
It's hard. I have to imagine myself younger. Well, my younger brother, he's like 4 or 5 years younger than me, but if I will be thinking like him, I guess they would like to, it's hard with language, if they don't have language, with all the materials that they have to go through in school, they would just need more support. Because it's not easy getting, like, I heard about the GED and other things that they have to go through. I guess they will need just like, more support or maybe special classes for them, which is not easy, I understand that. But I guess this would be, because they need more attention, though they have to work by themselves, of course. I guess that's it, it's hard imagining yourself younger.
Excuse me, I need to understand more about your question. Could you repeat, please? I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering if you can imagine what it would have been like to come as a teenager, not as an adult, going to school every day. What would you have wanted your teachers to know about you and your life as an immigrant?
Okay. Yeah, I think the language is the hardest challenge, but like habits for every day, because, for example, I know some Brazilians, they have kids here and they need to speak Portuguese and English in the same day, and they speak English in the school and Portuguese at home, but they born here and the parents born in Brazil, and they have problems because it's a different subjects and different things. And I think this is a big challenge when you are a teenager here, and I think it is about language. Everything is about communication. When you have a better communication, things can be easy.
Great, any other questions? Right here, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think that what you just said is true. Absolutely. With better communications, problems can be solved. So thank you. My question is much more a kind of nuts and bolts question, but for refugees who come in and don't have a work permit for months or a year, how do you support yourself, and how do you pay the rent, and how do you eat and buy clothes and just live? I can take that question. So, so the United States has a refugee resettlement program that has strict guidelines to it, and in the refugee resettlement program, agencies like us who sign agreements with the government to resettle refugees are obligated to get them employment and get them to self-sufficiency within 90 days. And so that's the intensity of that experience. So, since you brought that question, I just think probably good for everyone who's curious, and if you're not curious, I apologize, but the way the refugee resettlement program works in the United States is that there was an act of Congress in 1980, signed by President Carter, actually negotiated with Ted Kennedy and Jimmy Carter in 1980, that the president signed, that enabled refugees to come to the United States through a formal program, the Refugee Resettlement Program. And each year under that law, the President of the United States sets the number of refugees who can come into the country. Believe it or not, under President Reagan and the first President Bush, more refugees came in their era than just about any other administration. And so that's the great irony of today. And so we about 3.1 million, 3.2 million people, refugees, have come through this program. They come to the United States. At first, when the program was first designed in 1980, there was a longer period of public benefits that people received, and then that got cut shorter and shorter under President H.W. Bush. And so there was an Immigration Reform Act in 1990, and that act, the time that they got benefits was cut. So they have to get jobs right away. They have to get to work right away. And our organization's job is to help them get jobs right away. And so when you came here, what was your first job? We got your job
I started Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, another story that we have to start with.
Yeah, you should tell the story. So a lot of it's just, you know, we get them here, and then we get them a job as quickly as we can. And a lot of people working at Dunkin' Donuts are some of our clients.
Yeah. So, yeah, my first job was in Dunkin' Donuts. It was so funny. It's not funny that much, actually. I remember the first day standing behind the coffee machine and people yelling, customers waiting. Some people have problem in understanding my accent. I remember going to the restroom for 2 or 3 minutes crying and then going back to work. So yeah, I stayed there for a year and then I got promoted to shift leader. I was like, yeah, I'm doing well. Then I left that and I started working in dental office after that. So it's the start for everyone, I believe. Do you want to share your result?
Yeah, I would like to say something. Maybe you don't have idea about this, but you asked about how we can support ourselves without work permit. Yeah, we know we have many immigrants illegal here without green card, without work permit, but for me, this don't make sense because